What's up guys, I'm Hendo, and today I'm showing you how to make a Leaf Village headband from Naruto. First, you're gonna need a soda can. I've emptied and rinsed out this one already. And now I'm cutting it by making an opening with an X-Acto knife and then just using a pair of scissors. Be really careful when cutting. The top and bottom of the can is much thicker, and jagged edges there can really hurt your skin. Now that I have my separate piece, I'm going to cut off the edges to make them smoother. I'm also drying off any residual water. This is a pretty clean piece of aluminum, but I also need it to be flat. And I'm going to accomplish this by wrapping it in the opposite direction around something round. In this case, it's my selfie stick. Now it looks pretty good, and I can move on to making a template. The size may depend on your own proportions, but I found that 4 cm by 11 cm looked best on me. If you don't want to draw your own pattern, you can also find a link in the description to my pattern. I'm also going to mark the halfway point so I know where exactly the center is. I'm also using a gift card to make sure that I have rounded corners that all match. And now I'm just cutting it out. I'm drawing a little box just to guide where I should draw the symbol. And then I'm just freehanding it, along with where all the little bolts should go. I'm using a Sharpie to solidify the pattern, and the bolts too. Now I'm finishing cutting it out. Now I'm going to make sure that I like the size and shape by just kind of holding it above my forehead. I think that looks pretty good. The Naruto headbands come to about the edge of the eyes of all of the characters, so this size looks just about right. Now I'm going to cut out the symbol so that I can use it as a stencil. I'm getting it started with an X-Acto knife and then just cutting it out with a pair of scissors. Now find the cleanest part of the aluminum and draw the stencil on the back. Then cut it out. Now I'm going to use the stencil to outline the Leaf Village symbol using Sharpie. And now I'm just refining that symbol with even more Sharpie. I'm also using a sharp point to mark where the bolts go. It looks pretty good now. And I'm honestly surprised that the Sharpie doesn't rub off at all. As a safety precaution, I'd also recommend using sandpaper on the edges of the plate. For the headband, you can use any kind of black fabric. I have tons of old shirts that are black, so I'm just going to cut up one of those. The headband should be a little bit wider than the plate. I'm going to cut this one out to be 6 cm wide. One of my favorite ways to cut a straight line in fabric is to lay down masking tape. I'm making the outer edges of the tape strips 6 cm apart, and just cutting with fabric scissors. Then I'm cutting the loops so that I have open ends. Now I'm going to fasten the plate on with 6 silver brads. You probably haven't seen these since grade school, but they do exist. And they're about $1 at the office supply store or a couple bucks online. Make sure you have some sort of cutting mat or protector under the headband. I'm also going to tape the plate to the fabric so it doesn't move around as much. And use anything pointy to cut a hole through the aluminum and the fabric. Then stick a brad through it and press the ends down. I also have this pointy tool that's specifically for brads, so I'm going to use that on the rest of the headband, but really anything works. And just like that, I'm all done! The t-shirt fabric, which is cotton, has a tendency to roll up on itself, but as long as it's flat on your head, that usually isn't a problem. Hinata wears her headband around her neck, so I'm actually also going to do a version with fabric. I'm a cosplayer, so I have a lot of fabric lying around, and I just sewed a tube, threw it inside out, and then did the exact same process. And that one looks like this. And now the last step is just to try it on. So this was super easy to make, and I actually think it looks pretty good. A really nice thing about it being like thin aluminum is that it actually flexes with your head, and I think that's kind of dope. You can see that any small dents or creases in the aluminum you can't really see from that far away, so I think this is actually a pretty good method. And that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I hope that you found it helpful. This is actually for my Hinata cosplay, which you can find up here when it's ready. If you have any ideas for what you want to see me make next, please let me know down in the comments. And until next time, I'm Hendo. Thanks for crafting with me!